The Bears thought they had their left tackle answer until they didn't. Now with the season just around the corner, who can they actually trust to protect Caleb Williams' blindside? Let's break down the left tackle battle. I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. With me tonight is Justin Oniemi. Justin, that Bengals game, Braxton Jones was supposed to be that stopgap as we were hoping for Ozzy Trapilo to get back. So you may or may not have to eat a shoe. I think you're probably safe there. But what do you think? I mean, it's looking rough. It's looking rough.
So Braxton Jones was supposed to be a safe floor to just be a bridge until Ozzy Trapilo surprisingly comes back earlier than expected. But he didn't look that at all. We know he put on more weight since last season, which last season we were saying he was fresh off the injury and he never was good against the bull rush, but he was underweight and didn't look himself. We thought now that's what you were getting. And not only did he look bad in the Cincinnati game, Rob, they didn't play their defensive starters. So that was against second string. And so you don't have an answer. It reminds me exactly of last year, which is actually an okay thing. If Bob Weiss was on the show, we miss you, Bob, he would have said, guys, they didn't have a great answer last year, and they made it work. Let's not forget the other four positions on the line, pretty solid, although Darnell Wright did get injured today. Hopefully that's not too serious, but he played through injury last year pretty darn well. So, Rob, what do you got on the left tackle situation?
Yeah, I mean, just the game itself, it wasn't even just the bull rush that he was struggling with. It was the fact that he had the false start penalty, which set them back, and then it led to the whole, where was Caleb Williams throwing? Did he make the right read? Look, he didn't make a bad read. The read was there to Colston Loveland. So that made sense. It was more along the lines of should he, Ben Johnson thought maybe he should have went somewhere else with the ball and take the safer play because now you're set up first and 20, just go get some chunk yards and set yourself up better for second down. That's what the play caller mentality, the coach is thinking. Caleb Williams, not necessarily thinking that, he's thinking touchdown, or at least a big play. But the reason they were even in that position is because of Braxton Jones. The problem is that, look, they've tried Karan Amagaji, and I know he got hurt too at some point, but he looks absolutely awful.
He might not make the roster at this point.
He shouldn't. He really shouldn't. At this point, he's not worth keeping. Jedrick Wills was brought in to potentially, could he regain his first round form? And it's not looking good in that department either. And then you got the Screaming Eagle, Canadian Eagle. What are you going to do with Theo Benedet? He didn't look that good either, right? He finally, I think, kind of locked in a little bit, but you're up against third, fourth string guys at that point. I don't know, man. Where's your panic meter at? Okay, we're going to go 100 is oh my gosh, you better go make a trade, do something, bring in somebody at the left tackle position. 50, you're it's bad, but we've been here before. 0, hey, Braxton Jones is going to be an all-pro by the end of the season.
Well, before I answer that, Halas Huddlers, you tell us, what is your panic meter for the left tackle situation? Rob, I'm glad you explained the scale. You made us go 0 to 100. My gosh.
That's right.
I'm not at 100, and that's because the news on Ozzy Trapilo is that he's coming around. But I also have this thought of he's a second-year player. We didn't see a full season with him. We don't know he's the answer. We just think he's our best answer at this point. So that's why I'm not 100, but I'd fall right in that 50 range. Now, I'll hear your answer in a second, Rob, but the closer you are to 100, the more radical the solution. Like you said, trading for someone, signing. I think there's still a free agent out there but if you're a free agent at this point, there's a reason. Or is it finding someone on the roster? Should I just say it? Does Joe Thuney have to go play left tackle, guys? That's what they did in the playoff game when it mattered. They didn't go to Theo Benedet. And here you are months later with the same question in front of you. So what do you think about that, Rob?
Look, I don't want to go that route. But to your point, the closer you get to 100, they have to be thinking it. That's the key, right? The Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson, Dan Rochart, they have to be considering that as an option just because right now, look, Ben Johnson came out and said they don't know who the starting left tackle is at this point. They're going to have to see what practice brings. They're going to have to see what this last preseason brings. That's a scary thought, okay? That's a scary thought. My panic meter, I'm probably 60. Okay. Just a little bit above 50. I think 50 is expecting exactly what you saw last year. I think the problem is that they didn't really address it enough. And they're just counting on a guy to come back, to your point, who's a second-year player. Look, grew as the season progressed, struggled early on, lost the left tackle job to begin with, was trying to play right tackle during camp, and then it just didn't work out at all. When he came back in, though, towards the middle back half of the season, progressed and started to look decent. Could he be that guy? Maybe he is. I don't know, but right now you can't count on him. My guess is he's probably going to be put on, an IR designation to return. They probably left him off the PUP list so that they could get him that physicality at this point, get him practicing, test it out, see how he's doing, because you have to earn confidence in yourself, right? And then bring him back probably week 5. That would be ideal. I don't know if it'll happen. We'll have to see. That would be still way ahead of schedule. And is that still the answer? The thing is, the reason I think I'm not panicking too much is to the point that you brought up very early on in the show. And Bob Weiss is probably, a lot of times a voice of reason. I usually lean on you two for that, as my panic meter's usually at 100. It's just up, down, up, down. It's a roller coaster.
And it can fluctuate.
That's right. It could be the time of day. I might just not be feeling well, and I might just have a panic attack. So it is one of those things where it's I expect Ben Johnson and Dan Rochar to basically mask the flaws that are going on in this situation, whether it's putting another tight end out there or some, their lineman in a heavy package and chipping, running at certain positions or certain areas of the field to try to help open things up, because that is one area Braxton Jones usually does well in, is run blocking. It's just one of those things where I trust the coaching staff to put them in position to potentially succeed.
I think a while back, I'm going to credit you with something, and if you didn't say it, I think you did, so just take the credit anyway. But I think in the modern NFL, this concept or this idea of you're protecting the quarterback's blind side is a little bit overrated. You want your best 5 guys to protect your quarterback. And like you said, if you have a weakness anywhere along that line, which I would imagine every team does, you find ways to give that guy a little extra help. You find ways to make the scheme not fully dependent on that guy. So the fact that we feel pretty good to great about the other 4 that you have, that's a strong line still, or at least one you should expect to be strong. And the fact that it didn't look so good in a preseason game, they kind of do want to see how you hold up in just one-on-one, as opposed to complex motions and showing too much and putting too much into a week 2 preseason game plan.
And maybe that goes to your point. If, again, I'm not wanting to go this route, but do they determine that Tooney and Jordan McFadden are the better 2 players to pair with the other 3 on the line to put your best 5 out there, at least until Trapilo is back healthy?
So
that's something they get paid the big dollars for, right?
Let me answer your question with a question. How, in your mind, they have a joint practice coming up with the Titans and a preseason game with the Titans, your final one before you're getting ready for the actual season, and you still don't know who you want there. So, how do they go about, in your opinion, even answering this question at this point? I think we can both agree Amagaji, not an option. So are you down to 3? Is Wills kind of back in it? He kind of looked like he was not an option. Is he back in? And then is it about how they look in the joint practice? How are you divvying up those reps? This is a really complex thing. How would you go about it?
Yeah, I think I'm still leaning on Braxton to be the guy, in hopes that, knowing that his deficiency is literally just the bull rush, and not every defensive end plays it that way, right? That is his worst deficiency. Let me say not only. His pre-snap penalties are also an issue. But yeah, one of those things where I just feel like at least you know what you're getting, and maybe you can game plan around it. I think that's their go-to answer. But look, if he's not showing up enough against the Titans, and you're seeing a little bit more out of the other guys, you got to still give them a chance. I know, certain guys have been moved to the right side, and it's like that's what's been reported. Oh, Wills is playing on the right side. Benedet's playing on the right side. Oh my God, he's playing. It's like, okay, I get it. They're getting reps, but like at the same time, they don't know where these guys are going. So it's probably a good idea that they are getting reps at the other position, because they might be your swing tackle. They might be your, your fourth tackle, like depending on how many they keep. I don't know. I think it's just a really tough spot. I think fans are getting a little bit overblown with it. I don't think it's as big of an issue as maybe some are out there to believe, only because, again, we saw it last year. We saw what they could do in disguising and helping and moving and every little thing that they could throw out there. It wasn't perfect, but it was one of those things where, like, look, they ran the ball more to the right than they did to the left, and they did just enough to keep Caleb Williams upright. If it starts to become a problem where he's constantly getting hit from that side, and you got to put in a 6 blocker every single play, I don't know. For the longest time, you just do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Halas Huddlers, tell us what your panic meter is at, and like, comment, subscribe, because if you comment, we comment, and then you'll live know what Rob's panic meter is. New news comes out. It could go up. It could go down, but it'll go up, guys. I guarantee you. If this doesn't get resolved, Rob's meter is going to keep on rising.
Yeah, if you're new to the channel, I know we got some new subscribers here from the Lance Briggs interview. Thank you for joining and listening in. I have a thing called Rob's Rants. It happens quite often. I get a little bit crazy. I think it's fun. I think it is fun, and I think the passion and the anger that comes out, I think there's a lot of other fans out there that can relate to it. So I do think it's great that I can speak to it. But on the same side, the flip side, you and Bob kind of even things out a little bit for those more rational and logical people who don't wear their emotions on their sleeve. So we have this perfect blend of personalities here. Please stick around. Please hit the subscribe button. I got nothing else, Justin.
That's it, man. Bear down.
All right. Bear down. Claws up.
Bam.